All right. I think we'll go ahead and get started. If you just missed my welcome, my name is Kim Davenport. I'm the product manager for OpenStax Tutor, and with me is Deidre Tyler, who's a sociology professor at Salt Lake Community College. This webinar is our OpenStax Tutor Pioneer Best Practices webinar, and Deidre here is our OpenStax Tutor Beta Pioneer. She has been piloting using OpenStax Tutor in her course for the last year, and we wanted to give her some time to share with you all her best practices and her tips for kind of hitting the ground running. So making sure that you can benefit from her experience in order to make this a good experience for you and your students. I would like to recommend while we're talking, you can add your questions to the question tab in the GoToMeeting webinar software, and we'll be having a question and answer session at the end of this webinar, which will include demos and other things. So if you think of questions, please add them, and we'll have a session at the end to talk about it. So Deidre, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hello, everybody.
Hi. All right. Thanks for joining us. Let's get started. So I'm assuming most of you have probably already kind of looked under the hood of OpenStax Tutor Beta, but just in case you haven't, I wanted to chat first about what it is. And OpenStax Tutor Beta is OpenStax's newest offering. It's courseware that accompanies 3 of our textbooks, obviously Sociology, which I'm assuming most of you are sociology professors, and also college physics and biology. And what it does is it takes our textbook, converts it to a digital version, and then also gives you the option to assign online homework, online readings, give your students access to additional content that's not in our textbook, so videos and case studies, especially for sociology. And then it also integrates the latest findings from cognitive science to help students sort of reinforce their learning and make their study time more effective. It also uses machine learning algorithms to give students personalized questions and space practice questions based on their individual learning history. So everybody is getting questions that are kind of tailored to them and tailored to where they're struggling and where they're doing okay. So with that, getting more into the best practices part, Deidre has thought about things that she thinks you guys might like to know. And the first one is, how does OpenStax Tutor Beta help your students learn sociology? So Deidre, why don't you take it away?
First of all, day one, you don't have to wait for a student to purchase a textbook. The book is there online, and students can get started from day one, and that's very important. So the information is there. Do you know, OpenStax offers so much information here that students can get this information on any device. Their computer, their phone, they can get this wherever they are. And so this is really, really great. Students can do their homework anywhere they're located. Also, I think that students are doing much better on their exams because students will have a chunk of information where they will be tested on. They can read a chunk of information and go back to that information if they're not doing well. And so this gives students instant feedback where they can go over. And the research shows that this does help students perform better on their tests.
Thanks, Deidre. So when you say high amount of opportunities, you're really saying it's you find it valuable to be able to give students extra practice, extra ways to engage with the material that you're teaching in your class, and especially questions, right? Like practice questions and videos?
Absolutely, because small teaching is where it's at. You no longer want to teach the entire chapter. You want to break it up into small bits of information where students can gather small bits of information and also remember that information really better.
Yeah, and I think from what I recall in your course, you would assign the readings before they came to class with the goal of helping them come to class kind of more prepared, like they'd already looked at the content, answered questions about it, and then came ready to engage with you in the classroom.
Absolutely. The readings are available, and you don't have to assign but 2 sections, maybe 2 sections per class, and those students will be ready to engage much better after reading just those 2 sections instead of the entire chapter.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, and everybody, I forgot to mention, Deidre is one of our only pioneers who teaches both online and face-to-face classes. So she has experience. If any of you are teaching online classes, she's a great resource for specific questions about how to integrate OpenStax Tutor Beta into a scenario where your students aren't in the classroom with you. All right, so let's move on to the next area. Deidre, tell us how you found OpenStax Tutor Beta helped you as the instructor in your course. What did you find most valuable?
First of all, we're all designers. Teachers are designers, but we don't have a lot of time. And the OpenStax Tutor Beta helped me because I had so much information that I could get from the OpenStax to assign to my students. And so they have designed high quality content. And it's there available for you, and it's easy for you to select your content instead of having to find content.
What kind of content did you use from OpenStax Tutor Beta in your class?
The digital content that I use would be the quizzes. They were really great, and also the videos, and then multiple choice questions. Mm-hmm. So these were available, and I could select what I wanted.
So yeah, so in your class you knew you were selecting the content that you wanted to cover, and then so let's say if you're teaching Chapter 3, Section 5, you could go to the question library and find the questions that were available, see the videos that were available. Right?
Absolutely.
And so your point about helping you focus on your teaching was because that content was available for you to choose from instead of having to go out and look. Got it. Thanks.
Absolutely.
All right, before we get into Deidre's demo of how she set up homeworks and readings, I wanted to do a very quick demo for setting up your course. Some of you may have already done this, so if you have, just bear with me, but in case there's anybody who hasn't yet done this. So I'm at our website, openstax.org/OpenStaxTutor, and this is a site, this is kind of your main portal for accessing OpenStax Tutor. So once you've created an account and gotten faculty verification, you'll be able to click Access Your Course. Once I click Access My Course, I will be on my Courses page. And so this is going to show you any current courses you've already set up. It'll show you your preview courses if you're interested in going in and looking at a kind of a pre-built course. I am going to go ahead and click Create a Course. And this is kind of a wizard that will lead you through the process of setting up your course. It takes just a couple of minutes. So first I'm going to select my book. I'm going to select when I'm teaching the course. It's asking me, do you want to create a new course or copy a previous course? So if this is your first course, you'll just have the option to create a new course. But once you've kind of taught using OpenStax Tutor before, you may want to copy your old assignments over. You may want to copy your old question library over. So copy a past course will let you do that. I'm going to click Create a New Course. It's going to ask me to name my course. It's going to ask me my time zone, and then it's asking me the number of sections in my course. We recommend that if you're teaching a course with, for example, a Monday, Wednesday section and a Tuesday, Thursday section, go ahead and house them in the same tutor course. This is convenient if everybody is getting the same assignments with maybe just different due dates. It means that you don't have to set up multiple assignments for each section. So I'm going to say 2. And then we ask you the estimated number of students in those sections that you're teaching. The reason we ask this is that OpenStax is funded by philanthropic funding, and so we like to report back to our funders the impact that we have because they've all funded development of OpenStax Tutor. So I'm going to say 40. And then when I click Continue, it's going to go ahead and build my course for me. I'm going to go back to my course that I've already created, and then you will just end up on your course calendar. It's added all of the assessments into your question library. It has, and it's giving you all the options to start setting up your course right now. So that's it. And now let's talk about setting up assignments. I mean, this is really the key work that you're doing as an instructor. Wouldn't you agree, Deidre?
Oh, absolutely.
So why don't you talk us through, it's the beginning of the semester, how are you thinking about how to set up your course? What are your best practices for instructors who are getting ready to launch their OpenStax Tutor course?
First of all, you need to see your learning objectives. Every learning objective is located on your OpenStax book. And so you get your learning objectives and you align them to what you want to do. So for example, Chapter 1, I know what my learning objectives are, and I want to make sure that I'm on assignment really well. So I go and get my information there for my learning objectives. I will put them in my learning management system, and then I will go and start selecting the questions that will align with my assignments.
Okay, great. What about the next one, reviewing the question library?
Well, I would advise every instructor to take some time to go and look at the question library to see what questions you would like to include and which questions you do not want to include. I would do this a week before the semester begins because it would make things so much easier for you to go in and select those questions knowing exactly what you want. And I would also say do a balance. Don't have all videos, don't have all multiple choice, but have a balance, a really good balance.
Okay, how do you, the next thing you talk about is assigning a grade to incentivize students. Why do you think that's important?
I think this is very important because students are motivated by their rewards, and so the reward would be a grade. So basically, I make it low stakes. I don't make it high stakes. I want the student to go into the OpenStax and do their assignments and tell me that they have done the assignment, and I will go back in to the OpenStax to see if they did complete the assignment, and they will receive points. 25% of their grade is dependent on whether or not they did their assignments. Now, I'm not going to penalize them if they don't get the questions correct. That's too much pressure.
Okay. And then the last thing you mentioned is monitoring student progress. So you mentioned they complete them and you're looking at the completion. Is there anything else you want to add about how you do that?
Well, one of the basic ways that I do this is every Friday. I know students have completed their work. So by Friday, I take time and go in and look at OpenStax and then go in and look at the Canvas to see if they have told me in their Canvas box if they have finished the OpenStax. So this is a time adjustment. I won't spend as much time because I know Fridays for about an hour I'm checking.
Okay, great. Before we move on to the next part of the demo, so Deidre was talking about reviewing the question library, and I wanted to quickly walk you through how you do that. So I'm in my course, and this is my Sociology Fall 2017 course. There is a link to the question library on your dashboard. So if you click this, this is going to show you basically a table of contents from our book. And let's say I'm an instructor, I'm covering Chapter 5. I'm not covering, so I'm going to select this box. But, you know, I don't cover 5.4 socialization across the life course. So I'm just going to take that out because I don't care about those questions. And I'm going to click Show Questions. So what this question library shows you is it allows you to select the content that is available for each chapter. And as you're going through, Deidre was talking about excluding questions that you don't want the system to use. This is important. If you like all the questions in there, just leave them in, and we will use them to give students space, practice personalized questions. But if you find a question that you don't cover, for example, it's content that you don't cover, or maybe you don't like the question and the way it's posed, if you just hover over this question, you can click Exclude It. And this will tell OpenStax Tutor, hey, never use this question in any of my assignments as space practice or personalization. So if you do this before, you can do this at the beginning of the semester, you can do this as you go throughout the semester, like right before you assign Chapter 5, take a little bit of time and glance through them. It's up to you. So, all right, so I think, Deidre, why don't we transfer Presenter over to you, and you can show us and walk us through how you set up a reading assignment.
Okay, can you see now?
Not yet. Let's wait just a second.
Can you see now?
There we go.
Okay, we're in August, and I'm going to set up a due date for the reading assignment. You click your plus sign, and you add your reading. Well, you give your reading a name. Chapter 1. Please read. and you want them, for all of my sections, I want that due on the 31st, and I will say 12. And I'm going to add my reading. So I want them to read all of that. And it's just that simple. Publish your reading.
Great.
And there you will see your chapter readings are on the 31st of August.
Right. So what the reading is doing is it's taking our book content, it's breaking it up into manageable chunks for the students, and it's adding in some additional space practice and personalized questions based on the individual student's learning history. So they will see, a chunk of text content, one of the, sociology making connections features, for example, and then they'll see some interspersed within the reading, some kind of checkpoint questions to make sure that they are retaining the material as they read it. So you are not choosing, the instructor, are not choosing the specific questions, the system is choosing them, but it adds up to be about 3 questions per section that you assign, and then a final 3 questions at the end of the reading that will bring in space practice questions from previous material to kind of keep that material fresh in their mind as they progress throughout the semester. All right, Deidre, why don't we talk about adding homework assignments?
Okay, we go back to the calendar and say I want to add on the 31st. I will just say add homework. And I would say homework 1, please complete. And I want it for all sections. The due date is listed, and I'm going to do 12 p.m. So I'm going to select. Now, before I select, I'm going to have an instant feedback. That's very important. So I'll select Chapter 1. I want to look at all of them. Now, I know my learning objectives. I do want the student to know what the sociological imagination is. I'm adding that. I'm going to just add several. So I've added 2 videos. I'm going to move down, and I'm going to add this article. Why study sociology? Very important. And I'll add this one. So I have a total of 7. That's about right. And students will get this information. So I have submitted.
So hang on just a second, sorry. Before you move on, so Deidre selected, if you're looking at this top tab right here, it says 7 total problems. Deidre selected 4 problems, and then you see here this tab, Tutor Selections. This is where you, the instructor, can control how many personalized questions get added to the homework. So if you like that feature, you can actually go up to 4, but we ask that you add a minimum of 2. So that means every assignment will have 7 questions, but those last 3 questions will be different for each student because it's based on their history. Okay, sorry, Deidre, go ahead.
Thank you. And then I will go ahead. I have my questions selected. And at this point, I will do next. And then I will publish. And so you will see your chapter and your homework listed for August 31st.
Deidre, can we take a step back? So earlier for the homework, you saw you had the choice between immediate feedback and delayed feedback. Can you talk about why you prefer immediate feedback for homeworks?
I want students to see exactly what they're doing, right and wrong, immediately. I don't want that to be delayed. Research shows that students need instant feedback so that they can recall this information again.
Yep. Some instructors, you might prefer to have delayed feedback, in which case it would hold it until the due date. So the feedback for those questions would be available on the due date. It's totally up to you. I can see why Deidre prefers immediate feedback, and I think students often do too, because they can see right away how they're doing. Great. All right. I think we can transfer presenter back to me. Deidre, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I think we already covered this. You talked about making sure your assignments are aligned with your learning objectives. You talked about posting them in your learning management system, and selecting questions and assignments to meet those learning objectives. Do you have anything else you want to add about this?
The learning objectives are our guide, so we need to know where we're going, and students do also.
Yeah. So the questions in OpenStax Tutor in the question library have they're tagged to tell you which learning objectives they hit. They also have tags for Bloom's taxonomy and depth of knowledge and length, which might be, some instructors like to use those as a guide as they're selecting questions. Deidre talked about balancing assignments, making sure they don't have too many videos or questions that are overly difficult. So that could be one way that you make that determination. Right, balancing the timing and types of assignments. So Deidre, you're recommending balancing the types of readings and homeworks. How did you make that decision? How do you do it in your course?
Well, I go in as a student, and I'm looking at what's available for me to do that week. And if I find out, oh, this is too many videos, or this is not enough information on this topic, I switch, delete, add. So that's some ways that I do.
Okay. Yeah, I remember you telling us when you first started with OpenStax Tutor Beta, you had assignments that had a lot of videos in them, and then your students said, "Whoa, this is too long. This is too many videos per assignment." So I think that's really important, kind of listening to your students and being reactive to what they're saying.
Absolutely.
And what about this? You have a comment about 8 different assignments. Can you clarify?
Well, I want to have at least 2 videos. I want to have some multiple choice questions, and I also want to have students to look at additional information. So I mix it all up, and I don't have to go and search. It's already there on the OpenStax.
Do you have a particular strategy about when the assignments are due? Do you like them all to be due on Friday, both readings and homeworks?
Readings and homework should be due on Friday. That's the way I organize it, so that I'm on task and students are on task. So they know from Friday to Friday that they will have 1 chapter per week.
Yeah, I've heard that from other instructors. They find that it helps to sort of set consistent deadlines for students so that they know what to expect. And we had a webinar yesterday with a physics instructor who came to the same conclusion. He said, I find that if I don't have anything for 3 weeks, they're not going to come back on that 4th week to make sure that they have something due. They'll just forget about it. So I think that's an important point. All right. So we touched on this a little bit more, but talk about how you motivate students to learn, and how do you motivate students to actually complete and engage with the OpenStax Tutor assignments?
Well, I tell students that you want to learn as much as possible about the social world. So OpenStax Tutor will engage you in learning more about how people interact in our society. And also, you will receive 25% of your grade. It's based on whether or not you go into the OpenStax.
Yeah, I know all instructors want their students to be motivated by the learning and a love for the content, but it just seems like as a practical matter, you still have to incentivize them with that score. All right. Okay, let's talk about how do you use OpenStax Tutor to monitor student progress? How can you tell how they're doing, where they're struggling? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, OpenStax Tutor gives us information about students. I can see when students log in, what they're getting right. I can see all of that information. And so I know for my face-to-face students, I need to cover XYZ because students are not doing well on this area. For example, theory, that's an area. Even for my online students, I know, well, maybe I need to post another video about the theories, or maybe even make a video up for them. So this is really helping me in my teaching, and it's also helping students. But how do I spend not a lot of time, because teachers don't have a lot of time? Well, I have my students to put on the canvas, yes, I finished OpenStax. So on Friday, I'll go to OpenStax to see which student did finish the OpenStax, but I give them the benefit of the doubt.
With that, why don't we switch over to Deidre as presenter again, and let's look at some of the metrics and analytics that OpenStax Tutor Beta makes available, and you can walk us through what you're looking at and what you find useful.
Okay, when you go into your OpenStax, you can go to your performance forecast, and you can see so much data about what's going on. The green is looking good, the yellow is almost there, and the oranges keep trying. So you can see a wide variety of what's going on in your class. Just a thumbnail sketch. If you want to really dig down, you can even go and look at student scores. And we have some fake students that are in the class, and you can look at one student and see what's going on there. In terms of that student, they haven't turned in much, but you see 3 problems were worked, and you can see information about the student data. So I find this to be so helpful in understanding what's going on with students.
Great. All right, Sarah, can you make me presenter again? Okay, show my screen. Deidre, please let me know when you see my screen.
I see your screen.
Great. Okay. So Deidre talked about the performance forecast, which shows kind of a high-level snapshot or a heartbeat of how your class is doing. I wanted to show you one other option for looking at analytics, or actually 2 other options. So in my course, if I click on an individual assignment that I've assigned, this is going to show me analytics for this specific assignment. Which might be useful to look at on some instructors have said they like to look at this before they go into class so they can kind of see where a student's struggling. Are there any major misconceptions that I want to cover in lecture? So what you're seeing here is, this is also a fake class. We don't have a ton of students in here, so this data is 2 students, so take it with a grain of salt. But it'll show you how many have completed the assignment, how many are still working, how many haven't started. And then you can look at the topics that you actually assigned. This is a reading. So you can look at the topics that you actually assigned and kind of get like a little heartbeat of how people are doing on the concepts in these sections. So here we're seeing 5.2, they're doing pretty well. 5.3, people are getting these questions right. And then there's a section down here for space practice performance. And these are the questions that you assigned in previous sections that we've given to students because they struggled with them or because we thought they needed some extra practice. And then another thing you can do, down at the bottom there's a review metrics button. So I'm going to click that. And this will show you, this is a view that shows you all the questions that were assigned to students in your course, students in this assignment. So here you can see how many selected each distractor, how many got it correct. Many of our questions have a free response component, which is not auto-graded, but it's displayed here so that you as the instructor can kind of see how students are answering these questions. Are they trying or not? So you can see here Nadia Garcia is actually trying to answer those questions and put in a free response. And one last thing that I want to show you, I'm going to go back to the dashboard, and now I'm going to click on student scores. So Deidre was talking before, you can see how everybody's doing, and she clicked on the student's name to see their performance forecast. You can also use this view to drill down into what questions, how this individual student did. So I'm going to click on this homework. And this will show you the exact questions that this student, I'm viewing as Nadia Garcia, the exact questions that this student got on her homework. So probably these first, 6 or 7 were the instructor selected questions. And then these last 3 are the personalized, the space practice questions that the student got that were customized for her. So you have a lot of different options. I know you have limited time. But, as the semester progresses, I encourage you to sort of look at these different data points that you can get and see what you find to be useful. Okay. So Now let's talk, the last section of the webinar is about how to really set students up for success, especially at the beginning of the semester. So Deidre's first day class of advice. Deidre, what do you recommend our instructors do?
Well, I would recommend the first day of class, get the student involved with the OpenStax. Take up the first 15 minutes of getting your students logged in, and I'm in the computer lab for my classes, so they got all logged in yesterday.
Great.
But for my online students, I have to use a screencast. The screencast, basically, I'm showing them step by step how to log in and what to do. And once you have that information up day one, it is great. Students are ready to go.
Yep, that totally makes sense for an online class. I want to mention one other resource. So OpenStax has put together a Getting Started guide for students. It's not a screencast, but it is a 2-page PDF that walks students through the different steps involved in getting enrolled in the class. So getting that enrollment link, signing up for an account, and finally getting to the part where you accept terms and pay and start using OpenStax Tutor. It talks about the 14-day trial period. So if we haven't already sent this out, I think we're sending this out today or tomorrow. And unless you're really on the ball like Deidre and you made a screencast, we recommend making this document available to students as well.
Yes, put it on the LMS.
Yes. Yes, and that's the next one. So the way that students start the enrollment process is you, the instructor, have to share the course enrollment link with them. Deidre recommends putting that in your LMS, kind of like at the top, like, hey, be sure to register for OpenStax Tutor and make sure that they see it. And I want to do a quick demo. The last demo we'll do for this part of the webinar is how to find that enrollment link. So I am going to go back to my course. I'm going to go to the dashboard. And, okay, so this is, let me go back all the way just so you know where we are. So this is my courses. I've logged in with my instructor account, clicking my Sociology course. I'm going to click my name at the top, and then I'm going to go down to Course Settings and Roster. So on this page, you will see this course has one section, and this is the student enrollment URL for this section. So if you have one URL, you are done. Just copy this, paste it into your LMS, and tell students to go in and start enrolling. Caveat is if you have a course with 2 sections, let me go ahead and add one, Tuesday, Thursday, if this is how you set up your course. If you have 2 sections, these 2 enrollment links are different. They're unique for each section because we're assuming that you want to put all the Tuesday, Thursday students in one roster and all the Monday, Wednesday in the other roster so you can handle their grades differently. So just notice if you have more than 2 sections, they do have different enrollment links. And that's it. Once you share that with your students, they put that in and they'll be prompted to either sign up with a new account or log in with an existing account. And I think that is all of the best practices content that we were going to go to today. So first, if you have questions, please add them to the question section of the GoTo meeting. And then I wanted to bring your attention, so we've already had all of our Get Your Students Started webinars, but if you're interested in more detail in the enrollment process for students, how payment works, we do have some recordings that are posted on our blog, which I will share this link with you and just show you. All right. So we've got some YouTube recordings of past webinars in case you want to go back and look at them. We'll also be posting this one on our website here. And there's one called Get Your Students Started with OpenStax Tutor. It covers just more detail about how they can access support, assistance, and the kinds of things that they might encounter at the beginning of the semester. So with that, I think we should go ahead and go to the question and answer part. Okay. My semester has already started, although I'm using the free text. Do you have any advice on piloting OpenStax Tutor with students? I think you're saying that you have not yet started using OpenStax Tutor in your course, you're just using the textbook, and you're thinking about maybe piloting the tool, not fully, but just kind of seeing how it goes. If that's not correct, please post in the chat more details. But I think it's still early enough in the semester that you could certainly get started with OpenStax Tutor and set up some assignments and see how it goes. Deidre, do you have anything to add to that? Do you think it would take this instructor very long to sort of get started with using it if she or he haven't already decided?
No, it will not take long at all. All you need to do is just go in and select what you would like and post it in your LMS. And you could do this with quizzes or videos, whichever you like.
Great. All right. If you have any more specific questions, please feel free to post in the chat. Okay. Another question: are you able to skip over entire chapters or sections? So the answer is yes. You absolutely are. If you don't cover Chapter 10, never assign any homework from it or reading from it, then that means that will tell our system, hey, this instructor is not covering Chapter 10. Never give them any spaced practice or personalized questions from that chapter. And like we showed before in the question library, or when you're building your assignments, you can also take out individual sections from a chapter. So if you're just not covering, 3.2 for whatever reason, you can leave that up. Deidre, anything to add to that?
No.
Great. Okay. The next question. My understanding is that students have to pay for OpenStax Tutor. Is this correct? Yes. It costs $10 per student per course. So if you're teaching a 2-semester, a fall course and a spring course, it would be $10 per course. And what will happen is when students enroll, they'll have the option to pay now or start the free trial. They can start a free trial for 14 days, check it out. We know that a lot of students might drop courses, so we don't want to make them pay right away. And we also know that students might not have access to funds right away. So they have that 14-day trial, and after that, they're prompted to pay $10 to continue accessing OpenStax Tutor. But our textbooks will always be free. So if you're just using the textbook, there's never going to be any charge for that. The charge is just for using OpenStax Tutor to complete homework, to get access to personalized and spaced practice questions. Okay. Does the student dashboard look different from mine? Is the student view different from the instructor view? Yes, the answer is yes. And I think I'm still showing my screen. Is that right, Deidre?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm signed into OpenStax Tutor. I want to show you a couple of things. The first one is at the top of every course, we have a page called Student Preview Videos. And we put these in because we wanted to give you, the instructor, a really quick way to preview the student experience. So we've got 3 videos here: the dashboard, a typical reading assignment, and then a typical homework assignment. And I encourage you to look at these. I think they're maybe 15 to 20 seconds. And what you'll see here, let me just start this and see if I can pause it without playing the music. Okay, so I'm just going to pause this. You'll see here, so if you recall, your instructor dashboard was a calendar. The student's dashboard looks a little bit different, and we keep the focus on the assignments themselves, what is coming up, what is their progress on the assignment. So they are not seeing the calendar because we wanted to be able to say, this is your due date for this assignment, you've started it or you haven't started it, it's late, this is what this little red clock looks like, you've gotten 0 out of 7 correct or whatever. So it does look a little bit different. And if I X out of this, you'll also see we have videos for a reading assignment and a homework assignment. And this just steps you through, this is where you can look at what a typical reading assignment might look like. Okay. What else? Can you edit assignments after the assignment has been published? The answer is kind of. So once the assignment has been saved as a draft, If it hasn't been published to students yet, that is, it hasn't opened, it hasn't been made available to them on the start date, you can make changes to the assignment whenever you want. Once the assignment has gone out to students, though, you cannot edit the assignment, and that's because students may have already started working it, so it's complicated to withdraw some questions and handle the credit. So if you find that you make a really big mistake, your option is you can delete the assignment and start over. Otherwise, you can just leave it and explain to them. Deidre, do you have anything to add? Did this ever happen to you?
Well, that's why I take some time at the very beginning of the semester to really look at the question. But if students have already started, that's it. You can't go back in.
Okay. All right. Wait just a couple of minutes for extra questions. If anyone thinks of, I mean, keep typing questions if you already are, but if you think of other questions that you have after the webinar, there are a couple ways you can get in touch with us. So first, from our course, from within your course, if you click this help button, there is a link to help articles, and in this we call this our knowledge base. So this has a lot of previous questions from instructors like you, so you can search for those questions here. If you need really quick help and it's something you don't find in the knowledge base, you can also chat with support, and this will put you in touch with one of our support specialists, and they can answer questions pretty quickly. And then if it's something that's more complicated and it's not really, or chat is offline because they're not online at 4 a.m., for example, you can also email us. So communications@openstacks.org will help with communications questions or kind of high-level questions about OpenStax. And if it's a help query, you can contact support@openstacks.org. All right, let me check if there are any more questions. I don't see any. So first I want to thank Deidre. Thank you so much, Deidre, for sharing your expertise with us. And then I also want to thank all of you for joining. I hope that you have a wonderful semester and that you will keep in touch, especially as you start to kind of get using Tutor. And I'm the product manager, so I'm very interested in hearing about your experiences and hearing about what we can do better. So I encourage you to stay in touch with all of us. Thank you again, Deidre.
Thank you. And I just want to say, OpenStax is great. Use it.
Thanks, Deidre. All right, everyone, take care. Have a great afternoon. Bye.
Bye.